war in West Asia has now stretched beyond a week, and its spillover effects are beginning to impact global energy markets. Oil prices have surged, raising fears of further disruptions to the global oil supply chain. In view of the geopolitical disruptions affecting fuel supplies and constraints on LPG availability, the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gases in India has issued directives to oil refineries to increase LPG production and divert the additional output for domestic consumption. The Petroleum Ministry has issued a notification under the Essential Commodities Act of 1955. Priority sectors will receive full gas supply, including domestic PNG, CNG, fertilizer production, LPG production and the tea industry. The ministry has prioritized LPG supply for households and introduced a 25-day inter-booking period to prevent hoarding and black marketing. Non-domestic LPG sourced through import is now being prioritized for essential sectors such as hospitals and educational institutions. Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Mohan Yadav, has called an important state-level meeting in Bhopal to assess the potential impact of international situation. In view of the developments, the Chief Minister has directed the Cabinet to convene a special review meeting. Meanwhile, the LPG crunch is beginning to affect hospitality sector already. LPG shortage has sparked fears in Jaipur, Chennai and Bengaluru. After Bengaluru, the Chennai Hotel Association has warned that hotels in the city could run out of commercial LPG within the next 1 to 2 days. Restaurant bodies in Bengaluru have also sounded the alarm, saying thousands of eateries could be forced to suspend operations due to the shortage of commercial cooking gas. The Bruhat Bengaluru Hotel Association has warned that many restaurants may have to shut down kitchens as early as tomorrow if supplies are not restored. Association leaders have clarified that the closures would not be a strike but a forced shutdown due to supply disruptions. According to the association, most restaurants currently have enough commercial LPG stock to last but only 24 hours. Hoteliers have also criticized the government for lack of advance notice, saying that a 15-day warning could have helped them manage their inventories. Here's what the LPG distributors have to say.
युद्ध से थोड़ा सा फर्क पड़ गया है, जिसमें अभी क्या बैकलॉग चल रहा है। कस्टमर पर जैसे कुछ रूल लगाए हैं, अभी 25 डेज के बुकिंग नहीं हो पा रही है। पहले कस्टमर ये था कि 1 महीने में 2 सिलेंडर ले लेता, आज बुक करा लिया तो कल मिल जाता था। अब 25 लॉग लगने से कस्टमर इसलिए थोड़ा सा परेशानी हो रही है सर। और 7 डेज़ के बाद होम डिलीवरी हो पा रही है। कॉमर्शियल सिलेंडर अब अभी रोक लगा दी गई है, जैसे अभी क्या घरेलू को देखते हुए कि पूर्ति नहीं हो पाए तो क्या इसलिए उसको रोक दिया है। शादी ब्याह और रेस्टोरेंट सब में भी क्लोज है सर।
पब्लिक पैनिक हो रही है, खाड़ी देश में युद्ध चल रहा है, इस चक्कर में लोग सोच रहे हैं कि गैस नहीं आ रही, तो सभी लोग बुकिंग पर वो कर रहे हैं। तो सरकार ने भी इस चक्कर में 25 दिन का लॉक लगा दिया। जैसे आज सिलेंडर की डिलीवरी करी तो उसके 25 दिन बाद बुक होगा, जिससे कोई गैरकानूनी ढंग से सिलेंडर का उपयोग नहीं हो सके।
All right, joining me on the show is PC Rao, Bengaluru Hotel Owners Association President. Also with me is my colleague Kartik Malhotra. Kartik, coming to you first, it looks like hotels, specifically restaurants, are now beginning to feel the heat. They're beginning to feel that pain of shortage in LPG, many of whom are now sounding the alarm bells that they only have stock enough to last 24 hours.
Absolutely, it is definitely dire straits for restaurant owners and hotels because, you know, LPG cylinders is pretty much their lifeline. What do they cook and how do they cook and how do they serve their customers? That is the big question which restaurant owners and hotel chains are grappling with, because at the end of the day, it is the kitchen which has to attract customers to them, and if the kitchen is without a stove or without gas feeding those stoves, then they pretty much don't have a business model. So I think the fear is genuine, the fear is real. There is a crunch, but I think, you know, the government is also trying to prioritize and balance what needs it must fulfill immediately and which are the ones that could be kept for later. So I think the rationing which is being done right now for commercial cylinders is something which the government is deprioritizing over potentially, you know, making sure that domestic kitchens continue to get their supply of LPG. And for that also there is an anti-hoarding sort of 22 or 25-day window which the government has created, that households are also prevented from hoarding cylinders at home. And there is no further disruption to supply because there already is a much larger geopolitical disruption, because remember, India continues to be heavily dependent on the Strait of Hormuz and especially Qatar, which has since stopped producing and exporting gas, which is causing this sort of pain for India right now.
All right. Thoya Jakshi is also joining us from Chennai. Gautam is joining us from Bengaluru. Thoya, I want to come to you first. Hotel associations and restaurant owners, hoteliers are now sounding the alarm bell, as Karthik was pointing out, as to the stock they have when it comes to commercial LPG. What have you learned? What have you picked up from people on the ground? What kind of stock do they have right now?
Well, Shweta, the Chennai Hotel Association has said more than 10,000 eateries in the city depends on the LPG of daily operations, with many establishments, consuming several cylinders, a day, and having an alternative for cooking. Association President M. Ravi, who has written a letter and to Prime Minister Modi to intervene in this and make sure that there is no inconvenience, because M. Ravi has also cautioned that a prolonged disruption would severely affect food preparations and services, particularly for hospitals, IT parks, hostels, and travelers who rely on around the clock food supply. We also see that the association, who has written a letter to the Prime Minister Modi, urging the union government to ensure uninterrupted LPG supply and treat it as an essential services. Similarly, when we also see that famous hotel in Coimbatore, it is a well-known hotel in Coimbatore named Annapurna chain, has announced that due to LPG shortage linked to geopolitical tensions in the West Asia, it will temporarily operate with limited menu and revised service timings from March 10. That's from today onwards, where to avoid complete shutdown while continuing to engage with authorities and suppliers to restore normal operations. But meanwhile, the state-run oil companies have also maintained that there is no nationwide shortage of the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, where said LPG supply is currently being prioritized. Shweta, right now, me being reporting from Chennai, several hotels who are running out of LPG gas cylinders, and it is affecting their day-to-day life. Where you see that Chennai being one of the major cities in South India, where you can see that a lot of IT people, who is getting affected with the day-to-day life, as the food, the breakfast, the lunch, they usually consume it in the hotel. So this is getting affected, as well as not only the hotel industries, but also the tourism industry is also getting affected in this, Shweta.
Absolutely. And it's not just the people who eat out, it's essentially all the IT servicemen, people on daily basis who rely on some of these small hotels to feed them. And that's the case not just in Chennai, but also in Bengaluru, Gautam, where, restaurants are worried that they may not be able to sustain operations beyond the next 24 hours. And they're saying it's not voluntary. It's not a strike. They want to continue, but they just don't have enough stock of commercial LPG.
Absolutely. That is the exact word that the Hotel Owners Association president and several other restaurant chains are using, that this is not a strike. This is an enforced shutdown, because they do not really have any other way to go about it. Now, just before joining here, I spoke to Arun Adiga, who manages a chain of restaurants in Bangalore. Now, he basically told me that even a small eatery that services about 20 to 30 people every hour requires almost 10 LPG cylinders per day. And right now, that is not the case. They do not have it. Since Sunday, the supplies have been stopped, and only the small eateries are getting 20% of the commercial LPG, is what is being said. And what is the first ripple effect we are seeing of this in Bangalore is that the menus are getting shortened. The number of dishes that are being served are the likes that require less amount of LPG. And that is the first hit that we're seeing today in Bangalore. And eventually what they're saying is that if the issue is not resolved by this evening, by tomorrow we could see almost as many as 3,000 hotels across the city being shut down, which includes many of the darshanis with service to so the service sector, the labor sector as well. And with this could have a domino effect, a catastrophic effect spreading across the state as well. So this is a worrying situation. But what is good to see is that center has actually taken note of this issue, and they set up a committee to examine the supply, while the priority remains the domestic supply. But right now, the hospitality sector and the restaurant issues are being looked into. Tejasvi Surya has also written to Hardeep Singh Puri, and they are looking at a quick resolution. And what we also understand is that at 2 p.m. The Petroleum Ministry is expected to address the media as well. So they are looking forward to some sort of good news coming across. If not, we could be staring at a big crisis here, Shweta.
All right, big crisis unfolding right now. That's what the hotel owners and associations are suggesting at the moment. Karthik, although government has set up a committee, many hotel owners are also worried that perhaps the government did not act enough on time to avert this crisis. India annually consumes about 31 million tons of LPG, about 80 to 90% of which is domestic consumption. And most of it is coming from Strait of Hormuz, the conduit that has been blocked so far, resulting in that crisis. What are the alternatives?
I think alternatives right now are not very straightforward, Shweta, unfortunately, because, our dependence on importing gas is high. And unlike petrol, unlike diesel, unlike, the rest of the energy basket, where you have a more diversified set of options available when it comes to gas, unfortunately, it is West Asia that India looks at. I think what the government has done immediately, and not just as part of that 3-member executive director level committee, which it has formed with the oil marketing companies, I think what the government has also gone ahead and done is it has asked refiners, and here you're talking about the likes of ONGC, GAIL, etc. It has asked the refiners to ensure that they ramp up their capacity, they ramp up their production, their refining of gas, so that this temporary blip, and hopefully it is temporary, is something which over time gets offset. But I think there is no doubt about it that the short-term pain is there to stay. Now, the larger question really is how long the war is going to last and how much runway India has. As we understand, right now there is no shortage, so to speak. What the government is trying to do is ration the supply, because one doesn't really know, you don't have a sort of, thumb on the pulse of Donald Trump to really understand how long this war in West Asia is going to continue, the joint operations against Iran are going to continue, and how long the Strait of Hormuz is going to be disrupted. So I think the government is really trying to assuage the larger sort of, ramifications of a prolonged war by ensuring this rationing right now. I don't think there is an immediate shortage. Yes, at the consumer level, when it comes to hotels and restaurants, because of this rationing, there is obviously, a more deeper pain which is being felt. But I think as far as households are concerned, the government has proactively sort of ensured that the prioritization is households, and next in line potentially come restaurants and hotels. So obviously their businesses will get hurt, and to the point you were making earlier, obviously there are a lot of daily wage earners which also rely on these mom and pop little restaurants, and their lives could get impacted, no doubt about that. But to my understanding, I think this entire prioritization of refining and ensuring that as much gas supply as we have in the country, it is sort of, the refinement happens and its supply chain sort of gets further strengthened, is something which could take a few days, and there's no denying that until those few days are over, that pain is going to be felt. Now, long term is the bigger worry right now, because if this happens to be a prolonged war, then you really don't know where you're going to get your gas from, and then it's not just going to be the hotels and the restaurants. The pinch could be felt even at households.
All right, I'm going to talk about long-term implications in just a bit. Also joining us on the show is PC Rao, Bengaluru Hotel Owners Association President. Mr. Rao, thank you very much for taking time out. My colleague pointing out that perhaps as many as 3,000 small restaurants could close down in the next 24 hours due to shortage of commercial LPG. Is that a correct number?
Yeah, more than 1,000 at the moment, because smaller restaurants do not have the storage capacity. They will be having 2 or 5 cylinders maximum to store. So as there is a daily supply to such restaurant, they have abnormally stopped from yesterday, abruptly stopped from yesterday. Till Saturday, the Petroleum Department used to tell we have enough stocks. We have stocks up for next 60 to 70 days. Even our Petroleum Minister has tweeted that we don't have any shortage. All of a sudden, on Monday, they have notified that no commercial gas to be filled, only domestic has to be serviced. Hotel comes under essential service. Lot of people depends on it. PG, bachelors, working class people, police people. Lot of necessary essential service are depending on hotels. Particularly, this is fine. Not just talking on fine dining restaurant, self-service standalone restaurants. Such restaurants will have very difficult times. By tomorrow, by today evening, few restaurant may be closing. We have already started reducing our menu items, but still it may be continue for 1 day or 2 days maximum. So we are waiting for the
So
positive
are you
reply
saying
from the
most of the hotels that come under your association only have stock that would last for the next 48 hours?
Yeah, 24 hours to 48 hours maximum. There is no other alternate arrangement also. In some hotels, we have started bringing induction stoves for preparing coffee and tea, but that is the very negligible uh, shortage can be adjusted. We have to have commercial gas, then only the food can be served in many of the hotels. By 2 3 days, many of the hotels has to without any reason they have to close. But that situation should not arise. We hope that situation will not come. We are still discussing with a lot of MPs of Karnataka. They are on the discussion with Petroleum Minister. Mostly in the parliament also, now it may discuss, and at 2 o'clock we are waiting for the press release of Petroleum Minister. Let us see, hope for the best. The situation will come to a little bit in our favor.
Karthik, how long is the situation going to last? That actually really depends on how long the war lasts. But right now, with government trying to ration and keep enough and more stock for domestic consumption as opposed to commercial LPG, if that continues and the war continues, then we're looking at many restaurants shutting down.
I mean, unfortunately, that does seem to be one of the stronger hypotheses right now, Shweta. I think, it's fairly certain that this war is not ending today or tomorrow. So you really don't know how long the disruption is going to continue. Remember, US President Donald Trump has also gone ahead and issued a stern warning to Iran early morning today on his Truth Social, saying that if there is any further supply chain restrictions in the Strait of Hormuz, then Iran is going to be hit harder than ever before, about 20 times harder, if I remember, is what the US president had said. So I think there is enough pressure, military pressure, diplomatic pressure, economic pressure being added on Iran